It's all right. Hi there. I'm Brian Miller, station manager for the GGDA station, and with me today I have Alan Wilson. Hey, thanks for coming to Siege.
It's a pleasure. Good to see you.
Good to see you again too. So with Tripwire, Alan, tell us a little bit about that journey before you became one of Georgia's biggest giants. Give us a little.
Didn't think I was. Anyway, yeah. It's a long history. I mean, I did. Don't laugh. I was a biochemist once upon a time.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Obvious transition, really. And then did 25 years of serious IT consultancy, banking, career stuff, which was all fine and good and so on. But I always had I always dabbled in gaming as a hobby, because I'm old enough that meant starting with board games. They say, for those who are old enough, the old Avalon Hill board games,
Right.
stuff like that. I did some work around some of those, around things like Advanced Squad Leader and stuff. That's ancient history stuff.
Okay.
Which I can see from looking at your face, you might even know what that is.
No, yes, I do.
That's quite scary. That dates you. That aside, yeah, I mean, I'd had an interest in military history and gaming, and it was kind of that thing of, I come from a generation that followed on from World War II, doesn't have any personal experience, so you kind of, but you grew up around people who did.
Right.
So there was all this, war was a big thing, and and the military, and I always had that interest about, I guess, that kids do, of what does that actually mean? What is this? How did people do what did you do? And that led me into, as I say, into gaming, simulation, and things like this. And so that had always been, looking at the military history, the research side, and the gaming as kind of the simulation. And that had always been lurking for years, all my life, I guess. Around, late 90s, when the first Medal of Honor rolled out.
PlayStation?
No. PC.
Okay, all right. I thought the first Medal of Honor was on PlayStation, but I could be wrong.
And on PC.
Oh, okay. All right.
I never had.
Not Allied Assault. You're talking about Allied Assault?
Whatever.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Yeah, whatever it's called. Yeah.
It had 3 expansion packs.
God, I can't
Breakthrough, Spearhead, and there's another one. I'm sorry. Yes, I played the snot out of that game.
Yeah, exactly. and that was kind of the thing that got me looking at the first-person shooter is kind of this stuff. This actually could be very interesting. Yeah, but they got this wrong and they got that wrong. And they just got that from the movie. I mean, oh, come on.
Right.
So it was that whole, then what kicked off, and it did for a lot of people in that era, was we could do this better. I know how that should have been done. And, that was the era when modding starts to become big.
Mm-hmm.
I started out with some mod in about 2000, I can't even remember. And we were messing around with that, and then people started to shift onto things like Unreal, because that was actually well set up for modding and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like mod teams always do, they come and go. And I was on a couple of mod teams that crashed and burned horribly. And at some point, was it about 2003? I think it was. Stepped over onto the Red Orchestra mod.
Right.
Because I'd done a lot of work on Eastern Front. World War II style stuff. And I went, I guess this one's next. Let's see if this goes anywhere. And here we are, 14, 15 years later. So, I guess it went somewhere. But it started out as a mod team with me as one of many team members. Make Something Unreal contest came along. We went, okay, why not? I guess we should enter it. We won't enter phase 1 because we're crap.
Right.
We don't know what we're doing. We won't do phase 1. We'll just watch phase 1. And we watched phase 1 and saw the entries, and they were crap. And we went, our stuff's better than this.
Wow.
Okay, go. And we entered phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, won everything, until we went, wow, that's amazing. And we got to the end of it, and it was that whole thing of, what do we do now? We just won this contest, an engine license, and
Ding.
Company, I suppose. 4 of us sort of got together and went, I guess. That's probably what we should do. No, we really hadn't thought it through, and it was, and we kicked it off in 2005. Released with the first Red Orchestra on Steam in 2006, and kind of the rest is history. But you're asking about the prehistory. And so, I was running a business in London at the time, and ended up, through 2005 and 6, commuting backwards and forwards, trying to run a business in London, jumping over here to do bits and pieces, running back, working stupid hours like everyone does.
Right.
And once the first game was out, actually made some money. We got into that whole thing of, for me personally and my wife, and thinking of, okay, we didn't think this was going to go anywhere. We put some money into this company, and we thought, like most startups, it'll crash and burn, but hey, it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually made money, and we're sort of going, right, now we've got to take this seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't keep, because I was kind of commuting more and more from London to Atlanta, which is just getting ridiculous. And so in 2006, we sat down at one point and then went, I guess we should probably move. Moved over here in 2007, and that's 10 years ago.
Well, George is very happy to have you.
Thanks.
Awesome. What an incredible journey. Hopefully all of you game developers out there will run into the same blessing and luck. Your first game hits millions, right? My first game was called Egg Defender. It's an STD, STI, and unplanned pregnancy awareness game from the 2013 Game Jam.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. Okay. We were the only teams that actually went that direction. But all right. To step back, enough about me. Stepping back. You talked about Medal of Honor. All right. You're stepping into some of my earlier roots too. Right. Obviously. Right. Because I started listing off some details. But one of the things I did notice, and it's funny how you pointed out, no, that's too much like the movie, right? And but there were a lot of real scenarios built in, like the storyline. I was led to understand that a lot of the storyline were built off of diaries and et cetera, et cetera. So one of the things I started to appreciate about Medal of Honor is how historically accurate they tried to go. Okay, so I'm wrong.
It's if you're going to do the military historian bit, I guess the way we kind of looked at it back then, and probably still do, was, and it's funny thinking about it. I think PC Gamer or someone said it with one of the more recent iterations of Call of Duty, which is, look, if you guys want to do a movie, which is what you're doing these days,
mm-hmm.
you're creating, an interactive movie, just go make movies, because that was the thing, is that the Medal of Honor, the Call of Duty things, they're about, to a large extent, we're about, here is a story, here's
mm-hmm.
a story for you to walk through, to play through. I'm sure there's the multiplayer part to it as well, which is frankly what caught my attention much more. Once
I had my own servers and clans and teams and et cetera. So yes.
It caught my attention with the storytelling in the first
mm-hmm.
place, but I realized that's, for me at least, that had limited attraction. You play through it, you've got a few hours to play through, and then what? And that's where back then it's I'll try this multiplayer stuff and see what it's like. And I was hooked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Line and sinker.
and it's that thing that, multiplayer, you've got people, and people are unpredictable. A game is usually, especially a storytelling game, is predictable. You know what's happening. You know what comes next. You know that around this corner will be two Germans who don't notice the fact that you shoot one of them, and then, all the rest of that stuff. And don't get me wrong, I like playing. I do enjoy playing through single player things like that. But the multiplayer, it was that thing of, if I come around this corner, I know it's going to be different every time. That bastard, that guy, he's got me 3 times around this corner.
Right.
So I'm going to go, if I do this instead, and suddenly you're not thinking, how do I most efficiently deal with pre-programmed AI? Now you're thinking with people.
Right.
And suddenly it's a different type of challenge entirely.
It's a whole new element of the same game.
And you've got that predictable unpredictability. I mean, predictable because some players don't learn.
Right.
And you can go, I know where you are, pal. You every damn game. And which map was it on the original Medal of Honor? I forgot what it was called now. Where I'm thinking of one where
not the beachfront.
No, it was one of the multiplayer ones. Anyway, it doesn't matter which one.
Okay.
And it would start in after people had been playing that map for a few months. It would always start in a hail of grenades. So
I know which one you're talking about.
I'm trying to remember. I forgot which one. But it was everyone run around. Jump, whee! And there's a hail of damn grenades. It's going, okay. and that was where the historically accurate could do better, and the whole thing. What we wanted, a group of people coalesced around the idea of, no, that's about you playing the movie,
right,
and being like the movie star.
Mm-hmm.
What we wanted, I think we used the tagline one time. Games like that will put you in the movie. We don't want to put you in the movie. We want to put you in the battle.
Nice.
And it was that thing of, no, we want the weapons to behave believably. And there you can get into this whole debate about, do you mean realistic? Do you mean authentic? Do you mean perfectly accurate as they were in the real world? No, you don't build the game like it was in the real world, because, talk about Red Orchestra, that means, it's the Eastern Front. So you'll sit for 6 hours in a frozen trench with someone throwing mortar shells at you.
Right.
If you survive that, then a herd of Russians with tanks is going to come over in droves and bayonet you. That's not a game. That's not engaging fun. That's sort of, let me sit here getting my nuts frozen off,
right,
and then going,
right.
So you're creating, the politest term is an abstraction. But you want it to feel like, and again, I think I remember some article sometime making the point of that Red Orchestra made things a bit more difficult than some games. You actually, this was in the early days of iron sights.
Mm-hmm.
And people going, I actually have to aim down the sights. And,
Yep.
And stuff like this, and going. And I remember the comment being made by one of the, some writer somewhere where he said, and it made me feel like I could have actually made that shot in the real world. You go, there. That's
nice.
What we want.
That's one of the you can't monopolize on or monetize on that kind of reward.
Yeah.
But where I was going with the realism, no, great. You're actually kind of covered where I was going with this.
Okay.
I believe it was the 2013 Siege conference.
Okay.
I ran into Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
With Tripwire, right? And we got locked into this talk about how much detail you're spending, or how much time you're spending, and try to make things in more and more realistic details. Mm-hmm. For instance, the tanks, mm-hmm. the interior of the vehicle.
Okay. Yeah, I chuckled because we probably went a little overboard with that.
Really? So, but I mean, it was as me, a war history kind of enthusiast, if you will, really, really appreciate all the efforts that you went into. Mm-hmm. To make that happen, so thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. So
and don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've been in some, I have been in a T-34. I've been in the only operational Tiger on the planet.
Nice.
I've been in a KV-1. Yes. So it's a good excuse.
So okay. So I mean, you can't complain about your job title and having. Oh my gosh, you have to go fire some of these authentic weapons. All right. So give us a little bit about how terrible that must be.
Oh, it is. It is a real hardship. I mean, we did we haven't done it. Actually, thinking about it, we haven't done it for a couple of years. About two or three years ago, I've forgotten exactly. But we realised that as people have joined the company, we've got people who we had, including animators, who've never shot a gun, and we do. Let's face the facts. We kind of major in the feel of the weapons in our games. We want those to have the best feel of any game on the planet. As far as first-person guns go, and you're asking guys to achieve that when they don't know what a gun feels like. You're going, no, they need.
You need to know what that kick feels like.
You need to know
And why does when you're aiming at the target, your actual hit ends up to the top and to the left, or to the right if you're left-handed.
There's all of that, and it's what does it feel like? What are you experiencing, and how do you? What tricks can we pull in game to make it, because you can't experience the push against your shoulder,
mm-hmm. Or the feel of a concussion.
Yeah, right? What are you going to get them thinking about how do we make that feel believable in a game? So we took a whole bunch of people up to a private range up in the mountains with our small collection of World War II era weaponry,
right,
and a few other bits and pieces as well, and spent the day, shooting tin cans, and we actually happened to pick about the coldest day that year, and it was nut freezingly cold, which didn't help, but hey.
All right, maybe it did.
I don't know, but I mean, for people who are who never shot a gun and were unsure, we actually had some professionals on hand to take them through all the basics. Start with lighter handguns and work up to because if you've never had any training on it, a full power battle rifle is quite a beast.
Mm-hmm.
We did a sound recording session in Florida last year. Firing things like an F-hand foul on full auto. That's firing full 7.62 NATO round.
Right.
That on full auto, that's a beast.
Yeah.
It's a handful. Yeah, I mean, and we did that one time at a shoot up in I've forgotten, it was a range up outside Athens. And
over in Bethlehem?
I can't remember. This was 10 years ago.
Okay. I think I know which range you're talking about because I live real close to it.
Oh, okay. And I haven't been out that way, out to that range in years. But we were getting, because one of the reasons was they had some selection of fully automatic weapons that we wanted people to experience. And there's one of the guys who, had been told, right, now lean in, just remember to drag it back down, because otherwise you're going to shoot the ceiling out or something. And he went, no, I know what I know what he goes,
yep.
Sorry.
I know that experience.
And he shot it just by their sheer talent. He shot out the string for the targets as well.
Oh my god! Wow.
You can see the range guy was sort of going. You just see the look on his face of I did tell you, you didn't listen. I'm not allowed to hit you.
Wow.
But so
all right. That enough about real war.
Right.
All right, let's get into the blood and guts of it all, right?
Uh-huh.
How did you come up with that theory, or let's talk about the transition between a war game and going into let's just get nasty.
Well, war gets quite nasty, but
let's push the limits.
Yeah.
Okay,
you're talking about Killing Floor. And,
absolutely, Killing Floor.
I mean, if you don't know, when Killing Floor came about because a guy called Alex Quick had been messing around with this mod for a couple of years and came to us and said, hey, can I make this a mod for Red Orchestra? And, a couple of us played it and thought, oh, this is too much fun. I mean, it was really rough. But we went, there's something here which is just too much fun. And, we rapidly came around to the view of, no, this needs to be its own game. And it ended up becoming its own game. And funny enough, we still work with Alex today. And I think I've described it before now as, at the end of a day at work, if I've had a nice day at work, good day at work, I'll go home and perhaps feel a little cerebral and let's have an hour of Red Orchestra where I'm going to be thinking about stuff a little bit and plotting out how to get that sniper and thinking. Or I'll have had one of those days at work where stress is building up because you're not allowed to hit people at work. And you get home and go, no, I just need to blow shit up. Yeah. And you go play Killing Floor because it's got that. It's a co-op game. You're playing with either friends or random strangers. Mm-hmm. And there's usually some bit of trash talking going on.
Absolutely.
And the gameplay, while it will build up to be intense at periods, is deliberately done in that. It's one of the big things that we worked so hard on was to get this kind of the intensity. It's very easy for games to take the intensity and just go ratchet it up to 11 and leave it there. Frankly, that gets
I love the
dull.
11 reference too.
And,
sorry.
We all love Spinal Tap.
Yes, we do.
But it's very easy for games to do that, and it gets dull fast. And what we were building in at the time with the original Killing Floor and did with Killing Floor 2 and still do today is thinking about how do you ratchet up the intensity and then have it come back down a little bit and up again and down and you're yo-yoing it and giving people and that's why there's some dark humor in Killing Floor as well, is that you've got those moments of light relief and it can get silly before crap. And with Killing Floor 1 it got messy. And we realized with Killing Floor 2, look, when we were doing it as a sequel, we were thinking, what is Killing Floor? What's the core essentials of it? It's this, it's that. No, it's about blowing shit up and looking cool doing it.
Yep.
So right. Yeah. So then it came down to, Dave Hensley, who was art director at the time, now has been the product owner for the Killing Floor franchise. It was about, no, we need a gore system that's special. And we put some engineering time to that. And the guys came up with some ludicrous stuff. You can sort of take the Zeds apart completely
Right.
if you want to, and the system so that when blood splatters on the wall, it stays there the whole match. Have you not noticed that before?
I remember seeing.
You
know what? I just never really caught on to that. It didn't fade away.
The perfect place to see that is go play Outpost,
right?
Which is the concrete
Mhm.
bunkery place,
Oh, yeah.
snowy level, and look at it at the start, pristine snow,
Yeah.
and wind blowing, and a little bit of aurora borealis and stuff. And look at it about 5 or 6 waves in, when it's just big puddles of blood.
And highlight, like when we celebrated your Xbox release, the GGDA, we, us and a couple other members, we did a little co-streaming session, playing Killing Floor 2. So be sure to go get it if you have an Xbox, right? But there was one massive scene where the quote of the night was "so much blood." I mean, it was wonderful. I mean, beautiful. But now that you mention it, you think of other games in the past. Of course, they're erasing those images.
You're just placing a decal there somewhere. And
right.
Of course, it's, when you're not looking, it's going to fade away and just basically release memory.
Right.
But, we built a system quite deliberately so that no, you want to paint the whole level. You want the whole of that wall splattered. Well, just splatter things on it. That's why we put it. Also built in the physics effects so that you take a bloat out with some explosives, and there'll be this long string of guts dangling somewhere in a corner because
and it stays there.
But it was. I mean, as developers, it's also kind of we were reminded, we relearned whatever, that having worked on one thing for a long time, like Red Orchestra,
mm-hmm.
which is kind of constricted by reality. And because you want it to feel authentic, you want it to feel believable, so you constrict yourself to reality.
Mm-hmm.
And then going off at a tangent with Killing Floor, where you go, why don't we do a guy in a chicken suit? Why do we do a guy in a chicken suit?
Okay.
Why not? Okay. So you got the Chickinator running around. There's a guy in a chicken suit because you need to wear a chicken suit in the zombie apocalypse.
Right.
And you realise that. No, this is not about being. This does not need to be constrained by reality. This is it's its own little universe, but because someone decides they want to, handle a zombie apocalypse in a chicken suit, is just fine. And we realised that no, it's. I mean, say you've got that intense gameplay, but pun unintended, splattered with dark humour and silliness going on all around you. So enjoyed doing all the dialogue and stuff as well because let's get silly with this. Not totally stupid silly because that's another. It's like any of these things. You take it to 11 and leave it at 11. It's just dull.
So, all right, going on the whole topic of taking it to 11, the music in Killing Floor 2. Okay, I mean, we all just kept raving about how awesome this music is. I mean, when I first started playing, I generally don't really. I'll listen to the music in most games for a while, but then find that mute button because I want to get more immersed into the reality or the experience of it all. But with KF2. You need that music cranked up. I mean, talk about how you recruited some of those bands, because I definitely passed around the link to the soundtrack.
Sure. I mean, you can kind of blame John Gibson, president, for that because he's apart from that he's an old rocker and he actually used to tour with a band, when he was a lot younger, and before realizing that the music industry was a terrible business and all the rest of that. And he played thrash metal,
right?
And that's how between him and a guy called Dan Nasick, who did a lot of the original music for Killing Floor when it was a mod. That's how the Killing Floor 1 music came out because we actually. We used some of John's old band's music, which is where some of it comes from. And actually, I can't even remember how the connection got made with KF2, but there was a couple of bands, and it turned out that a couple of the guys in one of the bands were huge Killing Floor fans. And so suddenly all this stuff started coming together, and you've got all this mad thrash metal cranking away all over the place. It's going, okay. Having said which, you have to remember, I'm an old rocker, so thrash metal is not really my taste.
Right.
Yeah. Now, if we could have licensed some Thin Lizzy, some Free, I'd be up for it.
Right.
But I mean, you talk. I mean, music. You talk about we just did Vietnam.
Right.
There were so many things we would like to have done, but that gets ridiculously expensive.
Sure.
Someone did say you need painted black in there, and we did actually ask, and when we got the initial response of, well, you need to be thinking about this much before you even sort of have lunch, and you're going.
For the mechanical rice to be able to use it.
I mean, we did. We've got Run Through the Jungle. We used the CCR track we used for the launch trailer, and we have it just kind of in the menu. I mean, I wish we could do more of that stuff, but it's ridiculous,
insanely expensive. I guess it boils down to a point, if you can afford it, or is it going to actually cost you a lot more to actually get it? I mean, will the game ever generate enough to cover that?
I mean, this is it. I mean, if you're doing a game that you're going to put $100 million into the marketing of and so on, then spending a couple of million on some music is not a big deal. But when you think that our marketing budget for a game like Vietnam is probably $200,000-$300,000. Spending another $200,000 or $300,000 on music, you sort of go, we can have marketing or music.
Yeah.
No, I guess we need the marketing.
Yeah, of course.
Which is it's sad, but it's it's the realities of life, unfortunately.
Right. I feel like I could keep talking about this all night long, but I have no idea. I haven't been watching the clock. I forgot to set one up, so I'm gonna guess it's probably been about 20 minutes.
I have no idea.
Yeah, me either.
I have no trouble knowing what day of the week it is.
Man behind the camera says, we forgot to.
Man behind the camera's falling asleep. So.
I doubt it. Alan, thank you so much for this. Before you go, you got a camera here. This is a nod towards someone else. I mean, if there's any future plans or something we can really look forward to, if you want to say something, all right, without breaking any NDAs, of course, right? Or if there's anything you'd like to say to your fans.
Thanks for buying all the games. Please keep buying them. We hugely appreciate it. I mean, without you doing it, there won't be any more. What else? I mean, thanks to you guys. Thanks for setting us up.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out to SIEGECon. Thanks to the GGDA. I mean, thank you for your support with the GGDA. We really do appreciate that. And above all, I mean, let's go kill something. I got to go kill something. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you later.